Oh yeah, this movie was like what Lethal Weapon 2. Remember when everyone was getting hunted down and killed? It's very visceral. The thing that kind of sparks him. I was intrigued. Hold on. I gotta come back.
Welcome to Surprise We Both Love Movies. Today we're going to be reviewing Without Remorse, which is a movie streaming exclusively on Amazon Prime and stars Michael B. Jordan. All right, so let's talk about this film here. This movie is based off of a Tom Clancy novel, which I've never read. I went into this pretty green, not knowing anything. I like Michael B. Jordan a lot, and I was eager to see him dig his teeth into this action role. And he basically stars this military person. You see a little bit of a mission that they go on at the beginning. He gets home a few months later. You find out some weird things happen, and people on his team start getting killed in mysterious ways. One is run down while he's bringing his trash out. Another is killed while he's in the middle of traffic, getting stuck in rush hour traffic. And that leads us to what happens to Michael B. Jordan's character. Now, I'm not going to give too much away in the film. I don't want to spoil what happens and what kind of triggers everything. But Lamont, give us your thoughts on this movie.
If you ever seen Lethal Weapon 2, that's exactly what starts to happen. You all of a sudden see all these people that are close to Michael B. Jordan, they get killed, and you're like, what's going on? What's the motivation? And the next thing you know, something very visceral happens, and you're like, whoa. And the movie kind of really starts to change its tone and really has a different kind of feel to it. And as an audience member, you're like, you went from, yeah, he's a funny guy, he's a cool guy, strong guy, to like, oh, you need to find out what happened. You need to find out what happened now. And it is an interesting story. It's a very kind of a government kind of diplomacy and international kind of Mission Impossible type of feel to it. And Michael B. Jordan is swole. He's like, take his shirt off. And oh wait, hold on, I can take off my shirt. And then he beats up some dudes. And it's really interesting and visceral and very exciting. And it kind of comes to a point where you start realizing that it's a lot bigger than they realized, and it's got good actors. I really like the woman that played like his commander. She did a really good job.
She was the best.
She left an impression and made me go, you know what, that's a tough role for a lot of women to pull off, and she did an excellent job at it. She had such command of the scene of the screen. When she was there in a scene with Michael B. Jordan or anyone else, you completely bought that she was the level of the military that she was. And that's sometimes hard for people that aren't in the military to pull off, but she did an excellent job. What did you think, Aaron?
I'm not going to lie. I was severely disappointed by this movie. I went in expecting it to be much better than it was. Wow. I'm going to explain the problems I had with the film because I have like almost a laundry list here.
All right.
Michael B. Jordan is a good actor. They gave him nothing to do in this movie. He is the exact same character at the beginning as he is at the end. He goes through absolutely no growth, no transformation. His acting was exactly the same from the opening shot until the end, and I found that to be severely disappointing. And there was no growth with his character, and especially with what happened at the beginning, I would have expected him to go through some kind of transformation, which never occurred. I found this to have almost an artificial look, kind of the way we talked about with Coming to America 2, where this film has a very clean look to it. You could tell that the movie has a high budget, but what they did is they mixed some very grainy scenes in occasion to these very clean, almost video game looking scenes. And there's a big ambush at the end of the film where his team confronts basically some officers in this town, and they're in a building. And the way the lighting is in the building and outside the building, it was like it was out of a video game. It wasn't real life. It didn't have that gritty, real look to it. And so the whole movie, I didn't feel like there were any stakes in the film. It just jumped from one thing to another. To your point, the only good actor in the whole movie was his commanding officer. I thought everybody else was just paint by the numbers. This was, to me, was a very boring movie. By the time it ended, I was like, all right. And I know they're going to try and build a franchise around this, but there's going to have to be some growth with the characters to make that happen. So I was really disappointed, and there was nothing remarkable about the music. So I didn't walk away feeling fulfilled in any capacity with the story, the actors, or the music, to be honest with you. I was kind of bewildered when I got done.
I felt the complete opposite as you did. I thought it was very interesting, intriguing. I would agree with you about his character development. He was, paid by numbers kind of situation, and really he was reacting to a lot of what everything that was happening to him as opposed to having like some type of growth or becoming something that he wasn't at the beginning of the movie. But it is what it is. It's like a Mission Impossible. You don't ever watch those movies and go, wow, he really developed throughout this movie. He's that guy. He's just the guy that just he's smart, he beats up people, and he's got a bigger goal in mind besides just, whatever his personal interest is, but it's conflicted with whatever's going on internationally. It's an entertaining movie, but there's not a lot of great acting. You're right. Not very little character growth, but it is action packed. And that's what a movie is supposed to be. I felt it could have been more visceral. It starts out with something where it happens and you're like, whoa, but then it just kind of loses that as you go through it. It becomes more formulaic. But it wasn't completely like, paid by numbers all the way through. I didn't know what was going to happen very far into the movie, but it was, it was just enough of like keeping you off balance and being predictable that it was entertaining for me. Overall,
I would agree to a point. Yeah.
What?
It does keep your interest to a point, but it's not, I would never watch this again. Like I would never choose to watch it again. And my first clue to where things were going to be a little weird is how they pick off the first two guys at the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then how they decide to try and take him out made no sense. I'm like, they were really meticulous with the first two guys and got them cornered alone, but yet they try to go after him in a completely different way, which made no sense. Like if they really wanted him dead, there were other ways to do it. And they went about it in a way that you knew you were being strung along. Like you knew what was going to happen. It was to be expected. And so as soon as I saw that, and I'll be honest with you, you want to know who one of the screenwriters was on this? I was really disappointed to find this out because I've been talking this guy up a lot on our podcast.
All right.
Taylor Sheridan, the guy who did Sicario, Hell or High Water, Wind River, Yellowstone.
Yeah. That is the guy you've been talking about.
It's the same guy. He was one of the screenwriters, and I was like, wow. Wow.
See?
I was disappointed. This is the first black mark that he gets because
what about the guy that was like, there was a person who was part of the CIA and he wasn't sure, like as you go along this movie, you're not sure if he's with them or he's against them. And that story was very good. I mean, you didn't know,
That was the only interesting thing in the whole movie. And I forgot who the guy was played by. It's so many people would recognize. Plays a real kind of jerk in the film.
Yeah.
You do wonder where he lies. But at the same time, you see somebody like the guy that they had in there, Guy Pearce, and you kind of know by having Guy Pearce in there, you kind of know what's going to happen at the end of the movie. And that's my whole thing with this, the way the cast went. And Guy Pearce did not do a very good job. I didn't think at all.
I mean, it was there wasn't too much meat or potatoes to his role,
No, but neither was their main character. Michael B. Jordan had no meat to his either. And I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Build this character up. Make this a character you want to watch. And I didn't get that. I'd rather watch him in any other movie. I'd rather see him come back for Black Panther 2 and him take over the reins there than watch him play this character again. So
I think that you'll come to regret how you feel about this movie. You have to watch it again. You have to look at what those other movies that screenwriter brought to those movies. And I felt that there was maybe not necessarily on that level, but there's definitely like a shadow or a reflection of that in this movie. It's very much feels like a Denzel Washington constant, you're going to get a B+ movie. That's what this movie felt like to me. But overall, what was your score and your final thoughts on this one?
I go straight down the middle with a 5 as a movie score.
What?
I didn't hate it. Yeah, it's a 5 for me. I didn't hate it and I didn't love it. It was straight down the middle. It's not something I would ever choose to watch again. And I was disappointed by it. As a film score, it doesn't get a film score. It's definitely a movie, and it's a barely apt film at that. So I'm just giving you my real raw feelings on this. Like I've thought a lot about this movie over the past week since I saw it, and Yeah, not I was expecting a lot more, especially with Amazon having
Mhm.
done this. I would have expected them to have to show a little bit more for the budget that they had and able to pick him up along with Guy Pearce and all these other guys.
Mhm.
Like it should have been a lot more than what it was. But,
Mhm.
what'd you think?
Well, for me, it was definitely much better than a five, which is there's so many movies that we've reviewed that should this is better than. But for me, it was between a 7 or 8, and I would lean towards a high 7. It was very entertaining. It is well written, even though it's not necessarily super interesting. The characters aren't necessarily super interesting. It's great content, and if you want to sit down for a couple hours and forget about what's going on in your world, this you'll have fun. You're gonna be have a visceral experience, and you're gonna walk away feeling like you were entertained for 2 hours. So easy for me, slam dunk, 7, almost an 8 for Without Remorse. Well, that's all we have for you guys this week. We want to thank you guys, all of you guys who follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Audible. Continue to listen and watch, and we'll see you guys next week. I'm Lamont Lovejoy.
I'm Aaron Fisher.
See you guys soon.